Aloha, it is Dave Lawrence, and an exciting follow-up interview we get to do here with a cat that has been our recent phone guest on the air, but a guy that we got to sit down with at Hawaiian Brian's 5 years ago when he was last in town touring. From the Yardbirds, he's back, and he's now at the Blue Note Hawaii in Waikiki, doing a 3-night run. Jim McCarty, their legendary drummer, original member, and thank you so much for taking some time for us.
Pleasure. My pleasure, Dave.
It's good to see you again. And I was hoping that you could, I was thinking, we went through some fascinating history of Jim, going back to the earliest days of his life, really, and then stretching forward. And I was trying to fill in the gaps with things that maybe we had not talked about. When you think back to probably before that military-style marching band experience, what was the first thing that you realized, man, I'm into music, I like music, where you realize when you can look back at it that you were gravitated towards it?
Well, I used to buy old 78 records, and I used to buy funny old sort of jazz. I think one of the first records I bought was a jazz record called Bad Penny Blues. And they were all 78s with a funny little downset player or whatever it was.
And how old about?
Well, I was probably 15, 16.
Okay. And still hadn't played any drums?
Not really, no. Just started to get into the Boys Brigade by then.
And so that was it. So you're buying these records, and so there was no rock and roll yet in your life?
Not really. We listened to BBC radio, and that was pretty straightforward. They play a lot of classical music, and sort of maybe the top 10, of the era, which was like, they were like ballads and not really rock and roll stuff.
Boys Brigade then was what introduced you to the drums?
Yeah. Boys Brigade, I suddenly got into playing the snare drum, and I loved that sound. And you're marching with a snare drum. Paint a picture of how you guys come together as an ensemble. Well, we do. We march down the street with our hats on and our uniforms. But it wasn't a big group. It was probably about 12 of us or something. And I used to play the snare drum. And then all the other snare drummers used to play the same. I liked that. Well, I could play I play a special thing, and then they'd all play the same.
And when did you get a kit?
I didn't get a kit until, let me see, I saw one advertised in a local paper, and I was doing a gig with a sort of school group. I guess I was about 17, 18. And we were going to play down in a holiday camp down in Cornwall, in England, in the west of England. Some sort of unknown, not Butlins or anything like that. And so I saw a kid advertised. I was going to work in the holiday camp, washing up dishes and things. And so I knew I was going to make some money. And the kit I saw in the local paper consisted of a snare drum, a bass drum, and a hi-hat. That was all it was, and it was £11.
Amazing.
And I borrowed the money from my dad, and I knew I was going to make, probably £20 washing up over a few weeks.
And so it was like a great accompaniment. And again, this is your 16, something like that?
Yeah, 16, 17 maybe.
You mentioned your dad. How overall, looking back, did they factor into the nurturing of what became your career? Were they encouraging of it? Were there specific moments that you can point to that they helped push you or encourage you?
Not really, no. No.
They thought it was kind of crazy?
Yeah, they thought it was a bit odd. I mean, they were sort of proud of me when I suddenly appeared on TV. But my dad did die when I was 17, so there was only really my mum. And first of all, she hated the idea of me giving up my job. I worked in the stock exchange. And she didn't like me giving up because a job in those days was a secure life,
So paint that picture. How do you end up, you're a stockbroker on the London Stock Exchange. How did that end up happening?
Well, I went from school, there was an advertisement in the paper, and I went for it. It seemed, it was quite good money, I think, at the time. Probably, about £12 a week or something silly. And it seemed good. It was all about figures. I was always good at figures. And then I was studying to be an actuary, you know, the people that work out insurance premiums.
Where were you studying?
Well, I was studying like on, you know, at work and at, you know, by correspondence.
And you did this right after, so Hampton School was like a high school kind of thing?
Yeah, that was the high school.
So this was right after that?
Yeah.
No college?
No college, no. Just went from there. There was a sixth form, so I think I left when I was 17.
And you actually were doing that during the early years of the Yardbirds too?
Yeah.
So that was your day job. You'd be working as a stockbroker, and then by night cranking out the tunes with.
Yeah, it was a funny mixture, and so often I used to get the train because we were working quite a lot when we started, and I used to get the train from the city out to where the gig was, and then have to change all my clothes, you know.
You'd show up all dressed in like a suit.
Yeah. I think I had a bowler hat. I mean. But I had a suit and an umbrella, you know, and all that.
It's great. It's a great segue into those early years of the band. So at one point, Yardbirds had the privilege of backing, I read, Sonny Boy Williamson on a European tour. Yeah,
we didn't do really Europe. We did just England. We did about maybe half a dozen dates, and we did that recording at the Crawdaddy Club in Richmond.
Just in England, nothing on the continent?
Yeah, nothing I remember. No, we just played in England.
Was that a formative experience for you? Did you feel like a lot of satisfaction getting to actually finally not only be seeing a legend and someone whose music you admired, but then you're collaborating?
Well, it was good. It was good, and it was odd at the same time because really, you know, we had nothing in common.
Right.
we were just sort of young guys from the suburbs of London.
Kind of like naming yourself after a bunch of hobos in your suburban London.
Exactly. We were all white, and this guy was an old black dude, you know, who lived in Tennessee, and he was miles away from where we were, you know. But at the same time, you know, he was a great performer.
Right, and you loved the music, and it was Bring It On Home. Jimmy immortalized with Zeppelin of his years later.
Yeah. Fantastic.
So it's like when you think about the songs and who that is. Were there other blues greats that you did that with, or was that the only one?
Don't think we played. No, we didn't do gigs with others, but sometimes they would come and sit in.
Like who?
Because our manager Giorgio Gamelski, he used to bring them all over. He was involved in the National Jazz Federation in England, in London, and they would bring over these tours of all these black guys, you know, every year.
Who do you remember sitting in with or having sit in with you?
People like, you know, Big Joe Williams, I think he played with us, and maybe I don't know, Memphis Slim, but there were a couple of other guys that just sat in. I think we jammed with like Buddy Guy when we were in Chicago, you know, that was great.
So that'd be like late 60s, 67, I believe, 65?
66, yeah.
66, okay. Talk about the Graham Gouldman song, For Your Love. Introduced to you guys, how does it end up being introduced to you as a song to do?
Well, we were playing with the Beatles. We was in, one of their support bands, and they were doing a Christmas show in Hammersmith
Odeon.
Odeon in London. That's in the southwest of London. And we were the local band, and they asked us to play on the bill, which was great, you know. And, you know, we were playing our set, and there was a guy from a publisher's called Ronnie Beck. He was from a publisher called Feldman in London. And he had, you know, he had a demo disc, sort of an acetate disc, what they used to do, take acetates round in those days.
Like a promo copy.
Yeah, a promo, and like a promo 45, whatever. And he contacted our manager, Giorgio, and Giorgio, you know, got us up for a meeting. We all listened to it, and we liked it. And I think the thing, when he saw us play, he saw us changing rhythms and things, and so he thought For Your Love was
a good fit.
A good fit because they had a rhythm change in the middle.
You had mentioned in previous times, it's been a privilege to get to speak with Jim several times in my life and have grown up with the Yardbirds. And previously you've mentioned the Beatles thing where you guys got to, and I just wanted to explore that a little more. Was that the only time you guys got to open for them?
There was another time in Paris. One more time when we played at the
Olympia?
The Palais des Sports
Okay.
in Paris, yeah.
And memories, anything stick out? Interactions with the Beatles guys? Are they hard to get to? Were they already insulated? What was it like?
Well, there were some memories. I mean, the one in Paris was funny because they said, oh, well, we're going to use just the one kit, so, you know, if you could use Ringo's kit. So I was playing away, and Jeff Beck was playing, and he plays pretty loud, you know, and so I was bashing away. And I got to the last number, and suddenly the snare drum breaks, and I think, oh no, I've broken Ringo's snare. What am I going to do? So I was very, very nervous about it. But they came, took it, mended it, and Ringo sort of waved his fist at me when he saw me, you know, for a joke.
Was that the only interaction you guys had with him?
No, at Hammersmith we had. McCartney came into our dressing room, and he played us this new song he'd written, and he said, "Oh, I don't have lyrics for it yet, but I'm calling it Scrambled Egg at the moment." And he sang that, and it was yesterday.
Right.
And he didn't have the lyrics.
Amazing. So just him on an acoustic playing it?
Yeah, he came and sat there.
That is, and were they impressed by the Yardbirds?
Yeah, we thought it was great. Wow, what a song, you know.
But I mean, were they impressed by you guys? Were they like, wow, the Yardbirds, or they're an up and coming?
They liked us, yeah. I think they liked us. They liked, I think they particularly liked Jeff. I don't know whether they liked Eric, but.
So when you did that first gig, it was Eric was still in the band, or had he already left when you did?
He was in the band now.
Oh yeah, that was when he walked in late and he missed the. He walked down the.
He walked down with his trench coat.
Was it more than one show? So was it several nights, and that was just one of them?
Yeah, it was like 5 nights or something.
Because otherwise, it'd be a hard memory to have. Yeah, I had this opportunity to open for the Beatles once, and I missed it. I was late.
It might have been 2 shows a night as well, for all I remember.
Okay. Because I was thinking, so he didn't miss his whole opportunity to.
No, he was there.
Not that he didn't go on to have a huge enough career, but still, it's not something you.
Well, he linked up with George, didn't he? After so.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. He had enough thing there. I read Jeff Beck's first gig was just 2 days after Clapton left the band. Do you remember that being a sort of that would, to me, I mean, if it was the modern day Yardbirds, you're like, all right, we got a gig in 2 days, you got to learn the repertoire. It would seem like it would still be kind of stressful.
Yeah, tricky, very tricky. But I can't remember. We had a few rehearsals, obviously, and but he was great anyway, so he fitted in very, very easily.
Right, and he's a monster guitarist. I'm sure that's a challenge he was ready to have.
And we played at the first gig was at a gig called Fairfield Hall, which is a big hall in Croydon, which is out southwest of London, about 20 miles from the centre of London.
You remember doing Heartful of Soul, Shapes of Things? Are there anything that stick out when you were laying? These are formative tunes. We were just checking one out before we came over here, and just, I mean, these songs you grow up on, they become the soundtrack to your life. No joke, right? I mean, you're one of those cats who help make the soundtrack to someone's life. When you think about making those songs,
funny, really, isn't it? Well, it was just part of our growth, you know. Started with For Your Love, and then Heartful was another song by Graham. And then actually Giorgio was good because he said, "Oh, you're sitting around in dressing rooms and travelling. Why don't you write songs? Because you can make publishing."
right?
Because we didn't know anything about it, you know. And then we started to write, and we did like "Still I'm Sad" and "Shapes of Things." And
Did you ever hear Rainbow cover "Still I'm Sad" in the 70s?
yeah.
They do that incredible guitar and Cozy Powell and the drums.
Yes.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
With Ronnie James Dio.
Oh, right, yeah. I did. Yeah.
It was incredible when they would do that. That's really, Jim, how I got introduced to the Yardbirds.
Oh, okay.
From Rainbow doing it. And I was like, wow, I got to get into this band because this tune is smoking.
Oh, right.
And when we think about Train Kept a Rollin', same thing. Was that, do you... What did it, I mean, I know that you guys didn't write it. It had been written and then been reinterpreted once by like a 50s rocker. Then it ends up in your shoes.
Well, that was Jeff's idea. That was what he brought in to the band. He always liked that song, and we tried it out. And I thought this was, this is a little bit different, but it's good. It's a sort of bluesy rockabilly thing.
I bet with Johnny A in the band these days, you must have talked about Aerosmith's cover of that at some point.
Yeah, we did.
And they turned it into such an epic
I know.
Radio jam.
Crazy.
When you think about that first U.S. tour, that was the first time you got to the U.S., it was during Beck's tenure with the group.
It was
65.
Yeah.
Any memories of that? I mean, some of the dates included venues that you'd end up doing things with the legendary Bill Graham.
I think the very, very first tour we had trouble with our visas, and so we only played a couple of gigs, and we were doing TV. We did TV in New York. I can't remember what it was now, but so we managed to do the TV, and then we did a couple of gigs. Then the visas
wore out.
Well, the visas suddenly we were aware we didn't have proper visas, and so we played some mad party in LA with all these film stars were supposed to have come, and there was lots of stories about it all. But that was good as a promo, one of Giorgio's ideas.
Anything, and no memory of that, of any of those stars that stick out?
Well, they were saying, Brando was there and Bob Dylan,
but you didn't.
I didn't see them.
67, July of 67, in San Francisco, you played the Fillmore on the same bill with the Doors. Any interactions with Jim Morrison?
No. We were on the same bill, were we?
Yep.
Oh, right, okay.
July 67. I was doing my homework.
I always thought they were great. I thought they were great. And the only time we ever saw Jim Morrison was in the Scene Club in New York, and he suddenly jumped on stage and he was completely drunk out of his head.
During one of your sets?
No, we weren't playing. We were just hanging out,
And he jumped up on stage and...
Whoever the band was, he jumped up and he was all drunk and he had to be taken out.
Those are good. Those are very good memories. And Jimmy Page, can you think about? We didn't really talk about any highlights from his era with the band. You did the Blow Up movie shooting with him. Yeah. Are there other things that stick out about getting to have a guy who would end up making this monster band, the new Yardbirds, Led Zeppelin?
Yes. Well, he was always very very businesslike as far as we were concerned. He came from playing sessions, and he was always very keen on doing what we wanted, and he was always trying to fit in and
please the client.
Yeah, we were
you guys were the client, and he was
and he was very helpful, and I suppose he developed that later on, as he got into Zeppelin and stuff. He developed the monster image, but
right. But he was different when he was mellow.
He was very nice and polite and very quiet. And
did you stay in touch with him after the Yardbirds or no?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, in fact, I got to see him soon because we got some old recordings that might come out with him.
And you're going to do a little. So what would that be? Something from the vaults?
Yeah, it's actually the Anderson Theatre. The record that got withdrawn, that got recorded in '68.
That might be coming out.
So that might be, yeah, he's remixed it all.
Are there other things in the vaults that you've held on to all these years, or have all the studio things been released?
No, they're all out now. Yeah.
Do you sometimes wish that you had held back on some of that stuff, seeing that, or now is it just so far into the future where everything's just a free download that it's not even worth having held on?
Yeah, well, in some ways, but I think our stuff would be nice if we had some more. I agree, but there was never really any live stuff with Jeff and Jimmy, which would have been
that would have been nice.
Yeah, that would be nice.
When we think about Jimmy as a final sort of thing, I'd never really asked about Peter Grant. Peter Grant would go on to be, when it comes to managers, that would be one of the most infamous rock managers of all times. But it could be a situation that, much like with Jimmy, when you got to interact with him, he was mellower.
Exactly. Well, he was he was a tour manager before us, and then he was very gentlemanly and. He used to come to gigs, and he was always very helpful. And
any story with him that sticks out?
Well, we had this gig once, and we were playing, I think, upstate New York somewhere, and we used to travel around on a Greyhound bus. We hired a Greyhound bus, and we had to drive all the way through the night, and we got to this venue, and it was an outdoor festival, and it was run by these two brothers, these two sort of mafia types. And we got to we were all tired, we'd been in this bus all night. We said, okay, well, now we're at the venue, but we're just going to go to the hotel and have a shower, because we've been up all night. And the guy said, oh, no, you're not going to leave here because we're going to shoot your tyres if you try and leave. We just want to have a shower. And so Peter Grant said, oh, well, you're going to shoot us, are you? It's like this big guy.
Right. You get an image of what's to come.
Yeah.
The future Peter Grant.
Oh, you're going to fucking shoot us? But funny enough, the guy working with us tonight, the tour manager, he was our tour manager then.
Wow.
And he worked for Zeppelin.
And he saw all that craziness.
Yeah, he worked for Zeppelin for quite a few years, and then Aerosmith. So.
Jesus.
And he's here tonight.
Well, I mean, that's I would expect you to be in good company. What's that?
Henry, Henry. Henry Smith.
Oh, the tour manager. Yeah. That's the guy.
Yeah, that's him.
Wow. He's looking good.
Henry the horse.
Is that what? The stories that he's got. Huh?
Yeah, he's got some stories.
I can only imagine. You've been very generous with your time, and I hope that there's going to be another tour that brings you back to the islands. I do hope you remember I asked you on the phone to say send my very best to Chris Drea, who I've thought about. I miss not having him here tonight.
Yeah, I did. I did, and I will do again.
Okay, you've already talked to him.
Yeah, I just speak to him now and then. Yeah,
that's good. And he can speak okay. He
he can talk okay. Yeah. He's a bit slow. He sounds like he's a bit drunk all the time.
Is he in London?
Yeah.
All right. He have family to take care of him and stuff?
He's got a girlfriend, but he's got a daughter who lives in Baltimore.
Wow. Yeah, give him lots of love. We definitely, it was fun getting to hang with you guys last time. It was great to see you again. You're looking great, and I'm looking forward to hearing you. And God bless. Thank you so much, Jim McCarty, Yardbirds legendary drummer. Hope you had fun today.
Thank you. Thank you very much.